In an ancient Buddhist village, there was a large hermitage dedicated to Buddha. A famous Buddhist monk lived there. One of his disciples couldn't stop talking, constantly babbling about whatever came to his mind. When he went to collect donations, he returned with a new story from each house and shared it with the other disciples. He spoke ill of his peers, gossiped, and tried to appear good in front of others. He boasted and always tried to show he was the smartest and best disciple before the Buddhist monk. He considered himself different and superior to all the disciples. He used to say, "My parents are rich. If I wanted, I could have lived a comfortable, luxurious life. But I chose to give it all up for Buddhism. Therefore, my sacrifice is greater than all of yours." One day, the Buddhist monk called all the disciples to the hermitage and said, "You must all set a goal for the next month. This will strengthen your determination and instill confidence in you. You can set any goal according to your ability. If any of you fail to meet your goal within a month, you will return to your previous routine." All the disciples set large or small goals according to their capacity and left after telling the Buddhist monk about the goals they had set. But the disciple who wanted to show off went straight to the monk's cabin and said, "I don't want to set a small goal that I can achieve in a month. I want a grand and ambitious goal like me. Please tell me what goal I should set." Hearing this, the Buddhist monk smiled and said, "Will you be able to achieve the goal I give you? Will it be possible for you to complete it? Probably not. You won't be able to complete it, so you should set your own goal." The disciple said, "No, monk, I beg you to give me a goal. Any goal you give me, I will fulfill it." The monk said, "Fine, then you will remain silent for the next month. Not a single word will come out of your mouth. That is your goal." The disciple said, "Monk, is this my goal? It's very easy to remain silent for a month. Give me a bigger goal, one that matches my ability and that I will have difficulty reaching." The monk replied, "First, achieve the goal I just gave you." The disciple obeyed the monk and remained silent. At first, it was very easy for him to stay silent. A day passed in silence. But from the second day, the burden of not speaking began to increase in his mind. On the third day, he started to feel heavy, and on the fourth day, he began to feel a strange anxiety because all the other disciples were talking among themselves, and he also wanted to join the conversations. He wanted to talk, but his determination prevented him. A few days passed, and the disciple fell ill. He had a severe headache, had no appetite, and only wanted to talk. He went to see the monk, sat in front of him, and wrote, "Monk, I want to talk. I can't breathe without talking. I'm suffocating. I feel like I'm losing my mind. What should I do? I must break my goal." The Buddhist monk smiled after reading this and said, "Goals are made to be broken, but those who achieve their goals strengthen their inner strength. And those who strengthen their inner strength are on the path of power and awakening. Accepting the goal was in your hands, and breaking it is also in your hands." Many disciples have broken their goals and returned to their previous routines. If you can't do it, you can also break your goal and return to your routine. But remember, if you can't handle this small goal today, how will you manage the rest of your life? The decision is entirely in your hands. These words hurt the disciple's pride. He left without saying anything and locked himself in his hut. He only came out for essentials and spent the rest of the time in silence. 15 days passed, and most of the disciples had broken their goals, but his remained. Since setting the goal of not speaking for a month, he hadn't uttered a single word. All the disciples were surprised by the silence of the disciple who used to talk non-stop. After 15 days, he went to the Buddhist monk again and wrote, "Monk, I am silent on the outside, but there are many voices inside me, lots of whining and complaints. I keep talking inside my mind, asking all kinds of questions. The more silent I am on the outside, the louder I am on the inside. My goal is still standing." The Buddhist monk replied, "Yes, you have not yet achieved your goal, but as long as these voices reach your ears, your mind will keep talking because you have the habit of speaking. You may be silent on the outside, but you will keep talking inside. You must distance yourself from these things and these voices." The disciple left after thanking the monk. Then he left his hut in the morning and headed into the forest. Many days passed, and his goal was completed, but the disciple did not return. All the disciples feared that some wild animal had devoured him. Many efforts were made to find him, but there was no trace of him. The other disciples assumed wild animals had preyed on him, but the Buddhist monk did not think so. One day, another disciple went to see the monk and asked, "Monk, what could have happened to our companion? Could animals have killed him?" The Buddhist monk replied, "Animals may have preyed on him, but there could be another reason he hasn't returned. Maybe he has found what he went to seek." The disciple asked, "Monk, is talking too much so harmful?" The monk replied, "It is often said that one of the many difficulties of being human is the inability to remain silent. We constantly feel the need to speak, even when it is unnecessary or can lead to negative consequences. A significant part of our problems comes from our tendency to talk too much. Many arguments and conflicts are caused by excessive talking. We all want to be heard, but we often don't listen to others. Instead, we focus on expressing our own opinions and convincing others that we are right. This only leads to more confrontation and resentment. This pattern of talking and not listening continues throughout our lives, causing unnecessary stress and problems. In this ignorance of talking without reason, we waste our time, our life, our understanding, and most importantly, the precious moments we could live, experience, and enjoy. And what do we get in return? Nothing. We learn nothing when we are constantly talking. We do not create genuine relationships or listen to others. Only a few people realize what we lose by not closing our mouths when there is nothing necessary to say. The disciple asked, "Then, what is the solution?" The monk replied, "The solution is to remain silent when it is not necessary to speak. We must observe our thoughts, be aware of them, and take control of our minds. This brings miraculous changes in life." After this response, the disciple resolved his questions and left. 3 months had passed since the disciple left the hermitage, and there was no news of him. The Buddhist monks had lost hope of his return. One day, to everyone's surprise and joy, the disciple returned. He was not the same person who had left. He had undergone an incredible transformation and emanated a sense of calm and peace. His face radiated tranquility. As soon as he arrived, all the disciples approached him, asking where he had been and what he had done. He also began to talk to the other disciples. Everyone felt that he was no longer as impatient and talkative as before. Every word that came out of his mouth flowed smoothly and sweetly, saying just enough to communicate what he wanted. After talking to the disciples for a while, he went straight to the Buddhist monk and said, "Am I still in silence? My goal has been achieved." The monk looked carefully into the disciple's eyes for a while and said, "Yes, you are still in silence. Not a single word has come out of your mouth, and your goal is still standing." The disciple replied, "When I left the hermitage, I was silent on the outside, but there were many voices inside me, many questions in my mind that wouldn't stop. So I went to the forest hoping to find peace. But the deeper I went into solitude, the louder the voice inside me became. I started listening to the voice inside. It was then that I realized how wrong I was when I used to speak ill of my family, friends, and Buddhist monks. At that time, I felt I was right. Even when I gossiped and mocked the Buddhist monks, I felt I was better than them. But that day, I realized for the first time how wrong I was. For a long time, those voices and complaints continued inside me. But gradually, all those voices disappeared. Now I am at peace inside. In that dense forest, there was no one to talk to, and no voice left inside me. I understood the true meaning of silence for the first time. That day, there was peace around me. Now I could appreciate the beauty that had been around me all this time in the forest, the sound of the wind, the birds singing, and the sound of flowing water. For the first time, I heard all these sounds with full awareness. I had never felt so much peace around me before. Dear monk, I had a conversation with my fellow disciples and with you. I am talking, walking, and observing everything around me. Yet, I feel completely isolated and in silence. Even when I try to express myself, I still feel isolated. Now I can see everything clearly and hear everything more clearly. The Buddhist monk said, "The restlessness within us is caused by excessive talking on the outside. However, when we turn inward, we remain calm no matter what we say. It is said that most of the world's evil originates in our speech because we fear silence. We talk more than necessary and fail to listen to others. Instead, we interrupt them to try to give ourselves unnecessary importance. This becomes the purpose of our lives, and all our energy is wasted in meaningless conversations. Such a society is full of sadness because people do not listen to each other or try to understand each other. They do not know the value of silence because it makes them feel small. The reason behind all the battles in the world is our senseless talk. Therefore, we must speak only as much as necessary to understand each other. Unnecessary talk never allows us to go inward and always drags us outward. If we wish to turn toward our inner world, we must keep our mouths shut. That is why all Buddhas who became enlightened ran to solitude, to avoid talking too much and listening too much. They remained calm in solitude, which allowed them to travel inward easily, even while living in this world. We can live in solitude and remain calm, but for this, we must conserve our energy, which we waste in meaningless words. The lesson of this story is that talking in vain is a waste of energy. Those who wish to travel inward must keep their mouths shut. This way, they will find the space and energy to discover all the inner wealth that awaits them. I hope this video has been helpful and that you can apply it to live a richer and more meaningful life. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss more content like this. Thank you very much for making it this far. And before you go, here's something extraordinary I want to share with you. NASA scientists have developed a revolutionary 7-minute audio called GeniusWave that helps unlock your brain's full potential. Imagine attracting success and happiness effortlessly. To discover how you can transform your life too, click the link in the description below. Don't miss out on this opportunity. See you in the next video, friends.